Yo, what's up everyone? It's me again, back with another video. So, as you guys know, we're currently around 1 week into the new league, and I thought I'd just make this video to just talk about my overall thoughts on the league, what I think is good and what I think is bad, you know, as a SSF player, no lifer, content creator, whatever. So yeah, in this video, I just wanted to do like a super casual, just like, you know, put some gameplay on in the background, maybe run some maps and just talk about the overall state of the game in 3.27 and talk about the state of SSF, you know, endgame, progression systems, you know, patch notes, the new things, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's what this video is going to be about. And I'm still on my starter right now. This is my secret Hydrosphere Bone Shatter Berserker build. It turned out really well. Very happy about that. This is one of the new Uber bosses, Uber Incarnation of Neglect. It's a pretty nasty boss, but my build's kind of OP, so it's totally fine. I did die once here, but was still able to take it down, no problem. But yeah, I think the new Ubers are fine. I don't think the addition of them makes the game better or worse. Although I do think they're really difficult though, and sometimes it's not really clear like what kills you in these fights. But yeah, I think the bosses are fine. Maybe numerically they could be tuned down a little bit. In this video, I do have the new delirious bloodline that gives you like 40% less damage taken. So that's like a huge reason I'm able to survive any of this at all. Without that, I would be cooked. So next league, without the bloodlines, I don't know how easy these Ubers are going to be. They're probably going to be insane. So yeah, long story short, Uber is good. Maybe adjust the numbers down a little bit and buff the loot drops because, you know, oh yeah, there's the 40-40. Yeah, I definitely have a life. 40-40 SSF in 1 week. Although in my defense, the challenges this league were a bit easier than normal. So yeah, whatever. Yeah, so that's that. You know, build's going well. Very happy about my starter. And that's basically all there is to say about that. And I guess now we can just like run some maps and just casually talk about various things. So hope you guys enjoy that. Cool. Okay. So we have a couple different things to talk about. I guess first we can cover the league itself. You know, 3.27, Keepers of the Flame, Breach 2.0, basically. So I think the league itself is fine, although if it were to go core, there are some improvements that I would like to see. I think like one thing that we need is the ability to choose which of the 3 breach encounters we get in maps. I really like the breach encounter where it expands and you can like clear out the map while doing the mechanic. That one I really like and I hope it goes core. The one where you have to defend the lady I like a little bit less. Mostly a couple of reasons, like there's like a lot of walls and it lags my computer and it's kind of annoying to have like half the map covered with walls. And I guess like especially if you're like a range build and you want to skip the mechanic, you can't because the walls would like, I would assume, block your projectiles. So not a big fan of the defend the lady one. I think it could be made a little bit better, maybe like if the monsters spawned a little bit faster or if there was like less walls, that would be better. And then like the third one is the hive. I think the hive is fine, but it was kind of boring for me to do 24 waves and like clear the whole large area initially. So maybe like if that was like slimmed down a little bit and the waves spawned a bit faster, that would be fine. Oh nice, we got a hive. I guess we can just do it for content. So I think like one solution that I thought of that may be good is maybe like if there was like a wheel on the Atlas tree where you could like pick which encounter you want to see more. And then there should also be like options like monsters spawn a little bit faster or monsters spawn a little bit slower if you have a weak build. Like some ability to customize your experience, customize which encounters you want to see, customize how quickly you can do the encounters, right? I think that would be like really good. And then that would make the league mechanic a lot more enjoyable. But yeah, overall, I think the league mechanic was fine. This Breach 2.0 league mechanic, that is. Definitely a lot better than the old Breach in my opinion. But yeah, my favorite for sure is the one that uh, expands and goes around in a circle. Um, so yeah, there's that. Um, I don't know if I should full clear this for this video. Normally I would like look for all the chests, but whatever. I also don't like that it's a lot harder to do this on melee. From a game design perspective, I don't really know like what changes would need to be made to make it like better for melee without making it like super trivial. But yeah, like when I see people playing range, they can just like stand in the middle and completely AFK. Whereas like, you know, I'm playing Bone Shatter, so I have to actually run around and, you know, like it's a lot harder to do as melee, which I think is discrimination against melee. So yeah, some way to make this easier for melee would be nice. They did patch it since the start of the league, which made it easier, but sometimes I still just randomly lose because it's melee. And also like, you know, having to move around, whereas range builds can just stand still is kind of bullshit. I don't know. I don't know how they would make it better for melee, but I wish that they would somehow. So there's that. Alright, what else? Bloodlines? I guess we can talk about bloodlines real quick. So initially I was a little bit concerned that bloodlines would be kind of hard to access in SSF. I still think it is hard to access in SSF. Like, for example, like Oshabi Bloodline, right? Like, I got 40/40 challenges in SSF. I have like level 98 on this character. I don't know how much playtime I have on this character, but it's probably like 100 to 150 hours or something like that. And I've seen Oshabi only twice. Like I only got 2 invitations to Oshabi in all that time. So like the problem of accessibility in SSF I think is still something that ideally should be addressed for bloodlines. Some of them are really good, like Simulacrum is fine, you know, Trial Master is probably fine. Like a lot of them are fine. But I think if this mechanic were to go core, I think there should be like a quick like rebalancing of how easy it is to access the boss fights. You know, so that you don't go like 50, 100 hours dry and you can't even get your bloodline. Like sometimes that just happens in SSF and I think it's not ideal. So I think if that was rebalanced, bloodlines would be really good. And then as for like the bloodline nodes themselves, I think the balancing needs work. I know they wanted to make them niche, but it definitely feels like, you know, they're a little too niche right now. I think that making bloodlines niche is not necessarily the best way to go. If I could like, I mean, I'm not a game developer, but like bloodlines basically, as from like a game design perspective, is like an extension, right? Like you have your core ascendancy, and then you can like extend your character in certain ways. So like for an extension, I think it would be really good if like there were more synergies, because I feel like bloodlines right now, there's not that many synergies that you can do with pre-existing builds or, you know, whatnot. It's more just like either it's a niche thing that's good for your specific build or it's like completely useless. And I think it would be more interesting if there was like some more synergies that you could do. Like, I don't know, some ascendancy that makes armor do a different thing, or some bloodline ascendancy that like changes the behavior of something in a very specific way. I have no idea what I'm saying, but yeah, long story short is I wish they would be more niche and I wish they would be less niche and maybe more just like, yeah, just like more interesting extensions to current playstyles and like synergies with other stuff. That's the main idea. I don't really have anything else to say on that. But yeah, Bloodlines is fine. And yeah, this build uses the delirious Bloodline, so yeah, it's fine. What else is there to talk about? Oh, Endgame. Endgame is a huge topic to talk about. Okay, so a lot of people have been complaining about Endgame. Most people that complain are in trade, which kind of makes sense because a lot of the big strats got nerfed. And you know, like when you see the top players in the game running strong boxes, you know, that kind of says something about the state of the game in Endgame. But like even in SSF, I definitely feel it. And I think it's a little bit worse this league as well because the league mechanic is like a power up mechanic, right? The Genesis tree mechanic, that is. Oh yeah, I need to talk about the Genesis tree as well. I guess we can talk about Genesis tree first before we talk about Endgame because they kind of go hand in hand. So this league's mechanic, I mean, in addition to Breach, we have the Genesis tree. The Genesis tree allows you to print uniques. It allows you to print very good gear. It allows you to get some currency and also these graft things, which I think are really good and really fun. I love that you can like extend your character with these. But the main thing that the Genesis tree does is that it allows you to basically print nearly any item you want with the exception of some very specific gear. But for the most part, if you want some good gear, you can just like print it. And I have some thoughts about it. I think like, you know, fundamentally it's okay, but it does make it very easy to, you know, print extremely good gear. And I think that kind of, it takes a lot of the, you know, challenge out of the game if anybody on day 2 can print optimal 6-link body armor with optimal base fracture T1 mod, you know. And so, okay, I'm going to tie this into the end game discussion later, but my main thing here is that in any game, like you start off at the lowest power level and you end the game at like the highest power level, right? I mean, there's exceptions, but like generally this is the case. And the whole point of a game, in my opinion, is the journey. Like, how do you take your character from, you know, a very weak state to like a godlike state? And like, what's the journey? What things do you have to do? What do you have to know? You know, like what farms do you do? What decisions you have to make, and so on and so forth. What strategies do you employ in order to like go from the start of the game to the end of the game? And I think that's like a very important thing in any game. It doesn't matter so much how low or high the start is or how low or high the end is, but I think it's important to have like an interesting journey. And I think for a long time this journey has been pretty good in SSF or in PoE in general, although as time has gone on there's obviously been power creep, so the game has definitely gotten a lot easier over time, and there has been new content that's been introduced to kind of, you know, offset this, right? Like there's now Uber bosses and there's like content now that's like harder than before, but I think in general the power level of the player has been going up consistently over time, like inflation, which is fine, but like this league I think was like a super anomaly in terms of character power. Like basically being able to craft like perfect gear with no skill on like day 1 and day 2, I think is not good for the overall game. I think fundamentally, if this mechanic exists, there's nothing wrong with it in and of itself, but the problem lies in the fact that because the end game was not like made much harder, like players were basically able to instantly go to the end of progression with like no knowledge or like no skill, and then there was just like nothing to do, you know? But like normally you'd be like, oh, okay, how can I optimally farm essences? How can I optimally craft some mid-level gear with ROG, you know? Maybe I can harvest craft this, maybe I can harvest craft that. Oh, look, a fracture on the ground, sick. Maybe I can like use it, you know, something like that, right? Or, you know, there's like something like 15, 17 ways to make a 6-link in this game. So maybe early on, if you don't have a 6-link in SSF, you would be like, okay, so I know that there's many different ways to get a 6-link, you know, heist, corrupted items, Valside areas, you know, maybe ritual, like there's all these weird things you can do. And like doing all of those and like balancing all of that to like progress your character is, I think, like a really interesting and like high skill part of the game, especially in SSF. And that's one reason I like SSF so much, which is that it forces you to engage with all these different mechanics that, you know, if you play trade, you could just buy a 6-link. And then like you can basically bypass all of that interesting optimizations. And I think the problem with this league is that, like, you know, anybody without knowledge of any of these systems, or even experienced players who know these systems, you know, it just doesn't really matter because you just click a button and print your perfect 6-link fracture T1 item on optimal base. And it's like, you know, Like so much of the game is just like made irrelevant by the league mechanic. Like I farmed like a little bit of essence, a little bit of harvest this league, but like after I got like most of my gear, which was like really easy with the Genesis tree, there was just basically no reason to farm a lot of any league mechanic that normally you would use for crafting or gear progression. So I basically felt that on day 2 or day 3, I was basically, catapulted into endgame. Like I went from being a scrub out of campaign to like an endgame character in like 1 to 2 days. I mean, not even 1 to 2 days, like 1 to 2 hours, or even like 1 to 2 minutes just pressing a button on the Genesis tree. And I think this is fine, but it's only fine if there's something to do afterwards, Like, my main problem is that, my character was instantly catapulted into endgame, but there was just nothing to do, Because, like, they nerfed a lot of the popular strats, like, they nerfed, like, Abyss and, like, Rogue XL farming, so basically for the last, like, 5 days, I had this godly character that could, like, kill Ubers, but all I was doing was just ouch and go. I'm literally just like ouch and go because I can't think of anything else to do, Like, I don't have like Scarab sustain, I don't have any interesting league mechanic to farm. I cannot improve my character anymore by farming any crafting league mechanic like harvest or essence. I can farm a little bit of currency with like expedition and stuff, but it doesn't really help my character that much anymore to do that. And it also doesn't help my next character either, because if I want to progress my next character, all I need to do is print items on the Genesis tree. So basically I have nothing to do, and I don't know like what strats, I don't know like what strats to even run. So I'm literally just ouch and go like league mechanic right now. And, I'm kind of worried. I'm worried a little bit that there's just going to be nothing to do in the end game. The only thing that I have that's interesting to do right now is like, I mean, of course making new builds, but like assuming I have a powerful build, like the only interesting thing for a powerful build right now to do in SSF, in my opinion, is like just run maps to try to get T17s and then like farm Uber bosses. Because other than that, I feel like nothing else is challenging. And when nothing is challenging, it's just kind of like boring for me. So all I've been doing is basically just like ouch and go with the map that has like, with an atlas that has like maximum map drops, and just trying to drop as many T17s as I can, and then running those with max quant and trying to drop Uber fragments, farming Ubers and trying to get some interesting Uber items, which usually never drops, but that's this whole other thing. But yeah, and I think Ubers themselves are fine, but T17s, you know how T17s are, like the mods kind of suck, and rolling them for like 25C each kind of sucks, and the T17s themselves are kind of difficult as well, so it's not super fun. And then like the process of dropping T17s is also kind of boring to me. Like if there's nothing to do except like ouch and go, then I just don't really know like how to stay entertained while trying to farm the T17s. Because like when I do a T16 right now, there's like nothing interesting happening in any of these maps, right? There's like nothing interesting happening at all. The only thing that gives me dopamine in these maps is when I drop a T17, and then I'm like, yay, T17. And then I run the T17, and the only thing that gives me dopamine in the T17 is, yay, I dropped triple Uber fragments, hooray, Like, those are the only things that, like, I feel happy, like, playing these maps. And I think that shouldn't be the case. I wish there would be, like, at least some interesting strat that you could run that would be, beneficial for your character. And I guess going back to, like, the Genesis tree, like, allowing players to get like almost perfect gear on like day 1, day 2 is fine, but there has to be like something else to do. Like, maybe like some other system that allows you to improve your character in some way. Maybe like hypothetically speaking, like maybe if there was some system where you could slowly farm pieces for some Rubik's Cube puzzle thing, and that would allow you to like enchant your gear or like enchant your character with some special buff, or you know, something like that. Or, I don't know, you know, in a very simplistic sense, like, I don't know, like maybe even you farm something to get like 1% damage over some period of time. I don't know. I don't really know what the optimal like character improvement system would be, but I guess what I'm just saying is, you know, if you catapult players into endgame on day 1 and day 2, there's got to be something to do. Whether it's some system to keep improving your character, or whether it's some interesting farming strategy that could give you some interesting loot that is interesting, you know, there's got to be something to do. And I feel like right now, all you do is ouch and go, pray that you drop a T17, run the T17, pray you drop an Uber fragment or 3, and then just rinse and repeat. And that's kind of just it, you know? That's kind of all there is to do. And yeah. Oh, we got a boss. Maybe we can run this boss for content if I still have things to talk about. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the end game. Of course, I do play SSF, so maybe my perspective is, you know, a little, you know, different. But yeah, that's just what I think. Yeah, I just wish there was like more things to do. And I mean, they did say that, GGG did say that they were, you know, gonna do a patch next week where they address some of these things and rebalance some things, and you know, hopefully that results in some more interesting farming strats. But we'll see. We'll have to see. Yeah, I just think that aspect of the game is kind of missing for me right now. Maybe it's been missing for a while, but or maybe it could also just be that I played the game for too many hours and I've done everything in the game, and I'm, you know, it could also just be that. But yeah. But yeah, so that's all I have to say about Endgame. Wish there was more interesting things to do, and that's about it. Is there anything else that needs to... Is there anything else about this patch that I want to talk about? Ooh, is that good? Okay, new skills, new wand skills and stuff. New wand skills, new bow skills. I don't know. I wish there was new melee skills. I'm not really too into bows or wands. Assassin rework. I'm just going off like the patch notes here. I mean, assassin rework. Thinking emoji. I mean, did anyone play assassin this league? Yep. What else? Skill gem rebalance. Yeah, not much to say there. Foulborn uniques. I think the idea of Foulborn uniques is cool, but every single one that I've got has been kind of bad. Not too sure what's up with that, but like some of them are good, but I feel like a lot of them are not that good. Maybe if I found a good one, I'd be happy, but all of the ones that I found were not great. What else is new this league? That's basically it, right? Quality of life is good. All the QOL changes have been good, in my opinion. You know, auto leveling gems is good, like level all. Oh, I guess I can also talk about like the ground loot situation. So this is something I have, you know, I mean, I don't really know. I don't know if like the ground loot situation is actually bad or not. But But I have definitely felt that, like, you know, for a long time, like, there's been very few things that drop on the ground, and most of your loot is from like altars and stuff, and league mechanics. But so I don't have much to say about ground loot. It has kind of low key felt that the ground loot has not been great this league. Like sometimes I'd go like one to 2 days without dropping like even an exalt or a divine. But that's just anecdotal. I have no idea if it's actually different or not. But I don't mind it. You know, I think loot right now is fine. I was very short on chaos this league, but that's because I didn't farm expedition that much. But overall, I don't have that much of a problem with loot. But then again, I am SSF, so yeah. Most of my loot right now, like most of the stuff in my currency tab, either comes from King's March, Expedition, Eldritch Altars. Shipping is really big for loot progression, especially divines and exalts. So like, I don't really mind it myself. I think having different sources to get loot is fine. I think like not everything has to like drop on the ground, but I definitely did feel at some points in the league that ground loot was a bit less than usual, but it didn't really bother me that much, and I also can't say for sure if it was or if it wasn't, so yeah. What's this? 100% increased attack damage Gruchthal's pelt. Whatever. Alright. Well, that's basically all I have to say about this league. Yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed listening to me ramble about various things for 26 minutes and 57 seconds. But yeah, I didn't have a script going into this or anything, so it was kind of just a free flow of consciousness, for better or for worse. But yeah, that's basically my thoughts 1 week into the league. I'm not done with the league. I'll probably make like at least one more character, and if the patch next week is good and if there's like more things to do, then I'll definitely try to you know play the game some more and engage with the new farming strategies, and yeah, just see what's up. Yep.